Hey guys, Matt from Z Club Australia. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be running through the setup and installation of the Q-Smart V1, which is the 10-inch replacement screen for the factory infotainment system in the Nissan 370Z. It comes standard with wired or wireless CarPlay and Android Auto. We do recommend the wired option. There is better data transfer and a more stronger connection. Plus the benefits of that too is it's also charging your phone whilst it's plugged in as well. If you're wanting to have the factory display for the air conditioning controls, unfortunately the V1 doesn't have that CAN bus capabilities. We do, however, if that is a make or break for you, we do have the Q-Smart V2 option, which has that CAN bus integration and the ability to display that on the screen. With the V1 Q-Smart, you don't lose any of your air conditioning functionality at all. It will still operate as per normal from hot to cold and changing all your vents. The only downside is with the Q-Smart V1, you can't actually see that display on screen. So if that is important to you, I recommend taking a look at the V2 instead. But let's get into it.
First thing we need to remove is the gear knob. This can be troublesome with manual owners, so please be gentle and persistent if you plan to reuse the standard shifter. This is rather simple if you have an automatic, as you slide the silver surround down and there is a U-clip underneath which is used to remove the shifter. Once removed, you simply grab the gear surround now and lift as demonstrated here. The side kick panels are next on the list. There are 2 Phillips head screws for each of these panels, after which they are then easily removed by hand. Next up is the dash surround, which you'll find 2 Phillips head screws located at the bottom of the plastics. Then the whole fascia can be pried forward as demonstrated here. There will be 2 plugs to remove from this, the first being the push button start and the second being the nav control buttons. There are 2 Phillips head screws that you'll notice located underneath the nav screen. We go ahead and remove these now, which will aid in the removal of the CD stacker later on down the track. Prior to removing the CD stacker itself, we must first remove the plastic fascia. This is held in by 4 Phillips head screws, 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom. When removing, please be sure to remove the plug located at the bottom, which is connected to the AC control panel. For 2009 to 2011 models, there is 2 plugs required for the Q-Smart harness. On the 2012 Plus models, there is only 1 plug that's required for this harness. For this demonstration, we're working on a 2010 370Z. So we take the first plug, which is the lower central plug on the driver's side of the stacker. This contains the necessary speaker wires and power switch for the factory Bose amp. The second is the topmost plug on the passenger side, which contains a power supply needed for the new Q-Smart screen. On the top of the driver's side, there's also a grey antenna plug, which plugs into the supplied harness for the Q-Smart. If you have an OEM reverse camera, there will be an additional plug that is supplied with the Q-Smart, and this plugs into the original screen plug behind the dash. Also, just want to call out, as we're tapping directly into the speaker wires for the Q-Smart, you will lose functionality to listen to CDs or the OEM radio. We honestly don't see this as much of a problem, as there is a radio on the Q-Smart and you'll presumably be listening to Spotify instead of CDs. To begin mounting the Q-Smart on the factory surround, you'll need to undo the 4 screws that hold the OEM keypad in place. We do this because the Q-Smart brackets actually mount to the bottom 2 screw locations of where the keypad is housed. When the keypad is out, I generally install the top 2 screws back in place so that they're firm and tight. Included with the Q-Smart, there are 2 mounting brackets with 4 screws located with the wiring. The brackets are affixed to the Q-Smart like this, with the 2 tabs facing inwards. These just need to be hand tight on the Q-Smart and there's no need to over tighten these screws. To mount the screen to the dash surround, I generally place the screen towards the edge of a bench. This enables a good angle to slide the surround over and make sure that the brackets align with the OEM keypad holes. Once in place, you can push the screen back a little bit onto the bench just so that it's going to be in a safe, stable position to continue working on. Use the remaining 2 screws from the OEM keypad to tightly secure the Q-Smart bracket in place. And that's it. Now the screen is mounted, the OEM surround can be reinstalled back into the car. When it comes to connecting the Q-Smart, we really have taken the guesswork out of this, and there's only one location that any given plug goes into in the back of the unit. The antenna plug goes into the hole on the top on the passenger side. GPS sensor screws onto the silver thread on the passenger side. This sensor, it's up to you and your personal preference if you want to affix this to the front windscreen or simply throw behind the screen in the dash. The black plug, which has the main power and speaker wires, goes into where the fuse is on the back on the driver's side of the Q-Smart screen. The power amplifier plug, which goes into the big white slot at the top. There is 2 USB inputs that come with the Q-Smart. One is a 6-pin plug and one is a 4-pin plug. It's important to note that the 6-pin USB connector is what is used for wired CarPlay and Android Auto, so make sure that you label this as a separate cable. Then there's the 8-pin plug for the reverse camera, which you'll have a yellow RCA connector to. This can be used with any aftermarket reverse cam or OEM with a supplied harness. Before completing installing everything back into the car, we want to make sure that the last couple of checks are complete. First thing is to swipe down on the screen, make sure the car amplifier is turned on. Next up, and most importantly, we want to pair the actual steering controls with the Q-Smart. To do this, go to Apps, scroll across the car settings, scroll down to Steering Learn, and it's pretty self-explanatory. You press the button you want to assign, and then you hold that button on the steering wheel. In your car, the setup will be quite quick and successful. This is just a demo, so it's not actually connected to a car at this stage. And last but not least, the Z-Link app is what's used for wired or wireless CarPlay and Android Auto. We recommend wired, as mentioned earlier, but it's literally up to yourself whether you want to set it up wired or wireless. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. We'll leave links to our Facebook community, website, and also Instagram pages in the description below. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one.